Section 12 of the American Rivals of Sherlock Holmes. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Catherine Edman. The American Rivals of Sherlock Holmes. The Man Who Spoke Latin. By Samuel Hopkins Adams. Mementos of Average Jones' exploits in his chosen field hang on the walls of his quiet sanctum. Here the favored visitor may see the two red ink dots on a dated sheet of paper, framed in with the card of a chemist and an advertised sale of Lepidoptera, which drove a famous millionaire out of the country. Nearby are displayed the exploitation of a lure for black bass, strangely perforated, a man's reason hung on those pinpricks, and a scrawled legend which seems to spell mercy. 2 men's lives were sacrificed to that. While below them, set in somber black, is the funeral notice of a dog worth $1 million. Facing the call for a trombone player which made a mayor, and the mathematical formula which saved a governor. But nowhere does the observer find any record of one of the advisor's most curious cases, running back 2,000 years, for its owner keeps it in his desk drawer, whence the present chronicler exhumed it by accident one day. Average Jones has always insisted that he scored a failure on this because, through no possible fault of his own, he was unable to restore a document of the highest historical and literary importance. Of that, let the impartial reader judge. It was while Average Jones was waiting for a break of that deadlock of events which, starting from the flat dweller with the poisoned face, finally worked out the strange fate of Telfik Bay, that he sat one morning, breakfasting late, the cool and breezy inner portico of the Cosmic Club, where small tables overlook a gracious fountain shimmering with the dart and poise of goldfish, was deserted, save for himself, a summer engagement star actor, a specialist in carbohydrates, and a famous adjuster of labor troubles, the 4 men being fairly typical of the club's catholicity of membership. Contrary to his impeccant habit, Average Jones bore the somewhat frazzled aspect of a man who's been up all night. Further indication of this inhered in the wide yawn, of which he was in mid-enjoyment, when a hand on his shoulder cut short his ecstasy. "Sorry to interrupt so valuable an exercise," said a languid voice, "but—" and the voice stopped. "Hello, Bert," returned the adviser, looking up at the faultlessly clad slenderness of his occasional coadjutor, Robert Bertram. "Sit down and keep me awake till the human snail who's hypothetically ministering to my wants can get me some coffee." "What particular phase of intellectual debauchery have you been up to now?" inquired Bertram, lounging into the chair opposite. "Trying to forget my troubles by chasing up a promising lead which failed to pan out. Wanted, a tin nose. Sounds pretty good, huh?" "It is music to my untutored ear," answered Bertram. "But it turned out to be merely an error of the imbecile, or perhaps facetious printer, who set up the trumpeter's personal column. It should have read, 'Wanted, a tea rose.'" "Even that seems far from commonplace." "Only a code summons for a meeting of the Rosicrucians. I suppose you know that the order has been revived here in America." "Not the true Rosicrucians, surely," said Bertram. "They pretend to be. A stupid lot who make child's play of it," said Average Jones impatiently. "Never mind them. I'd rather know what's on your mind. You made an observation when you came in, rather more interesting than your usual output of table talk. You said 'but,' and nothing further. The conjunction 'but' in polite grammar ordinarily has a comet-like tail to it." "Apropos of polite grammar, do you speak Latin?" asked Bertram carelessly. "Not enough to be gossipy in it." Then you wouldn't care to give a job to a man who can't speak anything else? On that qualification alone? No, not entirely. He is a good military engineer, I believe. So that's the other end of the butt, is it? Said Average Jones. Go on, elaborate. Bertram laid before his friend a printed clipping in large, clear type, saying, "When I read this, I couldn't resist the notion that somehow or other it was in your line, pursuit of the adventure of life and all that. Let's see what you can make of it." Average Jones straightened in his chair. "Latin," he said, "and an ad by the look of it. Can our blind friend, J. Alden Honeywell, have taken to the public prints?" "Hardly, I think. This is from the Classical Weekly, a Baltimore publication of small and select patronage." Looks rather alluring," commented Average Jones with a prolonged drawl. "Better than the Rosicrucian fakery, anyway." He bent over the clipping, studying these words: "L. Livius M.F. Praenestinus, quod libet in negotium non inhonestum qui victum Marium locare velim, literatus sum, scriptum facere bene scio, stipendia multa emeritus, scientiarum belli, procertim muniendi sum peritus. Hoc de re pro me spondebit M. Agrippa. Latine tantum solo. Si quis me velit conveneri, quovis Dei mane adesto in publicis hortis orbis Baltimorianae ad signum apri." "Can you make it out?" asked Bertram. Well, the general sense. Livius seems to yearn in modern print for any honest employment, but especially scrapping of the ancient variety or secretarying. Apply to Agrippa for references. Since he describes his conversation as being confined to Latin, I take it he won't find many jobs reaching out eagerly for him. Anybody who wants him can find him in the Park of the Wild Boar in Baltimore. That's about what I make of it. Now, what's his little lay, I wonder?" "Some lay of ancient Rome, anyhow," suggested Bertram. "Association with Agrippa would have put him back in the 1st century B.C., wouldn't it? Besides, my informant tells me that Mr. Livius, who seems to have been an all-around sort of person, helped organize fire brigades for Crassus, and was one of the circle of minor poets who wrote rhapsodies to the fair but frail Clodia's eyebrows, earlobes, and insteps." "Your informant? The man's actually been seen, then?" "Oh, yes. He's on view, as per advertisement, I understand." Average Jones rose and stretched his well-knit frame. "Baltimore will be hotter than the place that isn't," he said plaintively. "Martyrdom by fire. However, I'm off by the 5 o'clock train. I'll let you know if anything special comes of it, Bert." Barry's splendid bronze boar couches, semi-shaded, in the center of Monument Park, Baltimore's social hilltop. There Average lounged and strolled through the longest hour of a glaring July morning. People came and went, people of all degrees and descriptions, none of whom suggested in any particular the 1st century B.C. One individual only maintained any permanency of situation. He was a gaunt, powerful, freckled man of 30, who sprawled on a settee and regarded Average Jones with obvious and amused interest. In time this annoyed the adviser, who stopped short, facing the settee. "He's gone," said the freckled man. "Meaning Livius the Roman?" asked Average Jones. "Exactly. Lucius Livius, son of Marcus Praenestinus."
"Are you a representative of this rather peculiar person?"